Welcome to the SAP Business by Design seminar. Thank you for your time today. My name is Rodney Hout. For the next hour, I will be providing a 10-minute introduction followed by an overview demonstration of the ByDesign product. This portion of the seminar is delivered as a recording. The question and answer portion of the session will be live. Please feel free to ask questions throughout the demonstration. We will answer them at the end, but you can send your questions at any time so you don't forget them. To submit your question, simply type your question in the Q&A box on the left side of your screen and click Submit. Now, let's get started. With SAP Business by Design, your success is not by chance, it's by design. You can implement ByDesign to become a better run business in 3 months or less. SAP Business by Design starts with SAP. SAP is the largest enterprise software company in the world. That provides a certainty that we will be around to continue to develop and support the ByDesign product. SAP provided leadership in the early days by introducing the concept of enterprise resource planning with an integrated suite of applications instead of separate modules. We now have over 100,000 customers running their businesses and helping us to define the best practices for success. ByDesign represents another major leadership role for SAP. We saw a need for a completely new solution focused on the small to medium enterprise market with the software as a service platform. Value comes from the fact we have married the best business practices from over 100,000 implementations with a completely integrated technology platform designed to be delivered as a service with a rapid implementation for rapid time to value. SAP has a strong commitment to businesses across a wide variety of industries. You probably recognize many of these customers. We've taken the best practices from these many implementations and leveraged those in the development of ByDesign. Now, those customers are recognized as some of the largest and best run businesses. SAP also has a great deal of experience in the small to medium enterprise market. In fact, over 75% of our customer base is in that small to medium market, and that's why we saw the need for ByDesign. Here are some of the ByDesign customer logos. You may not recognize many of these because they're small to mid-sized companies. You may recognize Skullcandy because they provide a consumer product. Skullcandy started with ByDesign so they could start with best practices, grow quickly, and not have to worry about stopping to change out their ERP system. Affordability. One low monthly user fee covers all costs. SAP manages the IT, you manage the business. Let SAP manage the servers, networks, security, and regular upgrades. It's all included in the monthly user fee that's treated as an expense rather than a capital expenditure. So you can save your capital for the growth of your company. ByDesign brings you rapid time to value with an integrated implementation project plan and e-learning that's built into the system. As you run through the execution steps, you can access the required configuration elements directly from the project plan. We have starter packages available to help you get up and running very quickly. You can then use these project configuration tools to add functionality at your own pace. Most of our small to medium enterprise customers have had two common high-level business goals: improving profitability and building a foundation for growth in the future. To support these goals, SAP has used 3 key tenets in developing ByDesign. These are transparency, efficiency, and adaptability. As we do our overview of the application, I will be speaking to proof points for these 3 tenets. From a transparency perspective, we will see embedded analytics and full document flow. This helps to make better business decisions to improve profitability. From an efficiency perspective, we will see how SAP has integrated best practices into the system, and we'll also see an integrated business task management to improve collaboration and control of your transaction flows. This efficiency concept addresses both profit and growth. From an adaptability perspective, you can implement the parts of the system you need today and add more functionality later. You can also configure the system to tailor the best practices to your environment, and each user can personalize the system to meet their specific needs. Again, adaptability helps you to streamline operations so that you can address both improving profitability and configure the system for different needs as you grow. ByDesign is a completely integrated solution to manage everything from sales and service through the supply chain and project management and on to the back office for HR and finance. The entire system is built with an easy-to-use, common user interface with shared services such as embedded analytics. In addition to the browser screens I will be showing today, users can access ByDesign with their iPhones, Blackberries, Androids, and iPads. This is particularly important to salespeople and managers who are on the road. The overview demonstration we're going to see today will cover just a small amount of the functionality in both supply chain and professional services. We will be accessing the system as Bob mentioned. Now, Bob is a sales manager, and so he's going to take us through a day in the life in his world. He's going to walk us through creating a lead, take a look at an opportunity, convert that into a quote, and then finally over into an order. Now, Bob happens to be a sales manager over both production of materials as well as professional services. So then after we take a look at this first day in the life flow getting over to an order, then we're going to take a look at what's involved in building a product so that you go through the planning, production, delivery, and invoice. And we'll also take a look at if you were going to address that from a project perspective, how would you capture the cost in a project? And that applies both to the supply chain house as well as professional services. So we really want to do just a little bit of both supply chain and professional services across the entire spectrum here. So let's go ahead and step into the demonstration. We're signed on as Bob Minson into the SAP Business ByDesign home page, and Bob, because he is a sales manager, has designed his homepage to have the business analytics that he's the most interested in. So he has leads by source, opportunity pipeline, the sales quote funnel and success rate, and sales order volume analytics, in addition to his receivables and profit overview that he's the most interested in having on his home page. Now, he has selected these analytics from a little over 150 of these embedded analytics, and each of these 150 have different views within them that come out of the box. So let's just take a look at some of the things Bob's interested in here, in particular sales order volume, and so he wants to take a little bit more of a detailed look at that. So he's going to select to view the details on this, and it brings up a particular report for him so that he can take a look at it, and he can change this report up and show additional information on it by adding any of the information that you see here on the left-hand side of the screen. Now you'll notice that this particular analytic is showing a graph. You can change that very easily by switching it over to the table view and then click it back over to the chart to see the graphic view. So let's just take a look at another one of these options that we have here for a different view. So for example, we might want to see the sales order by volume by month going across the page here. And if we take a look at that from a table view, we can see the months going down the page with the sales volume beside it. Now, as an example for how an end user without programming can come in and change or modify to create new views, let's just scroll down here and take a look at some and add some additional information. Let's add product category to the rows on this, and you'll notice that the information comes in and adds that to the report immediately. So you might notice that this is very, very rapid response time that we have as we select through these things and say, here's the things that I want. The reason for this rapid response is because this is built on in-memory analytics. So this is the latest state of the art in technology for maintaining that information in a place where you can manipulate it, put it into a format that you want, and then share it with others. So we've added a little bit of information here to the report. We can take things away. So let's take away the calendar view of this. And so now we're just looking at things by product category. And then let's add accounts to this information. So we've got information by account, by product category. You can also, if you're familiar with pivot tables in Excel, use the pivot concept here. So we see accounts going across the top of the page and product categories going down the page. And you can flip that around the other way so that you've got accounts going down the page and products going across the top. So here in just a few minutes, we have completely redesigned this particular view of the information around sales order volume to get at just the information that Bob wants to see. Now he can save this and give it a new name so that the next time he wants this particular view, all he's got to do is come over here and select it from the drop-down box. But a lot of times what people want to do is go ahead and export that down to Microsoft Excel. So we've got a built-in Excel integration with ByDesign, and you'll notice that it immediately dropped that. It opened up Excel and dropped that information from that custom report that we had just defined into Excel. Now, over the course of the last decade, most systems that I have worked with have been able to do that particular feature, take data out of the system and drop it to Excel. So that in and of itself is not terribly exciting. However, the SAP engineers have built a plug-in for Microsoft Excel, and you see here a tab within Excel called SAP Business by Design. So from within Excel, without having to go into ByDesign, you can log on to ByDesign from within Excel, and you can manipulate the report using the toolbox, similar to what I just got through doing while we were within ByDesign. And this particular example shows a procurement report where we've got the information from ByDesign over here on the left side of the page, and then we've combined that with our very own formulas and formatting over on the right side of the page. Now, once you have defined this report, you can save it back up into ByDesign so that you can share it with other people or reuse this particular analytic on a periodic basis. So let's say this is something that you take a look at every week. You can come in and say, I want the system to refresh the information from ByDesign, so it'll pull the current data over here to the left, and it will apply your particular custom formulas. So this one feature actually supports all three tenets that the engineers were looking for. Transparency, because you've got access to the information from within a tool that you're very familiar with, so you can log on to ByDesign and pull the information down that you want. Efficiency, because you can define one of these and then reuse it and refresh it on a regular basis and share it with everybody else. And adaptability, because you can come in and apply the customization and all the adaptability features of Excel are automatically brought into the system here for you so that you can change things up very rapidly. So this actually hits all three of those key concepts of transparency, efficiency, and adaptability. So let's go back then and take a look at the report and take a look at a couple other things. So while I'm looking at a particular report, you can drill down and go to other places. So these analytics are not just a mechanism for you to get at information. They're also a great tool for navigating through the system. A lot of people use these for exception-based reporting, and then once they identify a particular exception that they want to go to, then they can navigate directly to that particular exception. So this is, again, an example of the efficiency concept that they wanted to build into the system. Now, this is an example of navigation that comes out of the box. From an adaptability perspective, the key users in your organization can add new navigation concepts to reports as well. So let's close this out. Bob has taken a look at information about sales order volumes. The next thing that he wants to do while he's on his home page is to take a look at these quick links that we have over here. So ByDesign has built into it a business task management. Users can collaborate with each other within ByDesign. So let's just take a look at some open tasks that we see over here. As we open this up, we see a couple of tasks that have been generated from other users. Bob sent himself a task, and Iris Green sent him a task. So Iris was looking at a particular invoice. She had a phone call from Frank sent. Frank wanted to ask Bob some questions. So Iris sent this task directly over to Bob, and while she was on that invoice, Bob gets this task. All he has to do is click on it, and it takes him directly over to the particular invoice that you were working on. So we see here the basic information about this particular invoice, and then by selecting more, we can see the detailed document flow. So we see the sales order, outbound delivery, customer invoice, and then the payments. This, again, speaks to the transparency concept within ByDesign, and this is a great example of the built-in best practices within ByDesign that you get out of the box. As we're looking at this, if you wanted to drill down further so that we take, again, another step into the system, you can click down here on this particular icon, and the system will take you directly to the general ledger journal entries for this particular transaction. So we're seeing a particular US GAAP set of books entry that was being made. By the way, from a growth perspective, we support the IFRS set of books, so if you grow into an international environment, this will be very important. We see the particular debits and credits, and you'll notice that it supports multiple currencies. So SAP has built its business on the ability to manage international markets and transactions. So this is all a part of the ByDesign system, built from the ground up to support that for a growth perspective. So while we're looking at this particular invoice, we might have a question related to the sales order. So Frank could drill into the sales order or simply change his perspective on this and see that this sales order came from a sales quote, which came from an opportunity, which came from a lead. So all of this information is available. So if the customer has any questions about any of these documents, Frank can get right to it. Or Bob can get to it to answer Frank's questions. Down here at the bottom, we see the actual account, and it's got a hyperlink on it. So let's go to that one. So this is the 360-degree view of the account. So we see the account, basic information for address, the contacts, the relationships, responsibilities, and then we see 4 tabs here for sales, service, and financials where we might get at a little bit more information. So for example, on sales, we see the quotes, the leads, sales orders, opportunities. Now, this is intended to be an overview where we get just that information, that 20% of the information that answers 80% of the questions that we come up with regarding an account. If you want to see more, we go to the View All view. Now, instead of just 4 tabs, we now see 6 or 8 tabs going across, and for each one of those, like communication, for example, we have sub-tabs such as collaboration that will show you the particular details. So I want to know what does this particular customer want to get an email for their sales quote? How do they want to see information for invoices? Do you want to get that by email, fax, printer? This is the kind of information that you reach into, and you need to have this, but it's information that you need to have once in a great while. So let's not clutter up the system with all of this once in a while information. Let's put that back onto the detailed or view all functions. So throughout the entire application, we see this concept of an overview, and then we see the view all for the detail. And this again comes back to speaking to both the efficiency, let's get at just the information we need when we need it, and transparency, everything you need is available for you. Well, I'll also highlight over here that we see all of the changes that were ever made to any of the records. So this is an example of all changes ever made to a particular corporate account record. So we see when something changed, who changed it, and then as we scroll down, what it changed from and what it changes to. And then we see notes and attachments. Now, on the attachments, we see all kinds of attachments available, linking out to Google Docs, images, Word documents, clicking out to a particular website. These kinds of attachments are available throughout the entire application so that you can extend the application and bring in those things that are outside of the system into ByDesign. So this is an adaptability feature that you see across the board. Let's go back to our overview. And we see a tab up here for web services. While we're talking about adaptability, this is a great example of how we've taken information from the account, the address, and adapted it and sent it over to a third-party application, Google Maps, so that we can combine information with ByDesign with other information that's in an external source. So again, latest state-of-the-art in technology utilizing web services to pass information back and forth. Now, in the distribution environment, we use this a lot to capture the shipping information so that we get UPS tracking information, for example, and we bring that back into ByDesign so that if anybody has a question relative to where's my shipment, they can get right at that information. No programming required. Simply pass the appropriate parameters along, so there's a one-time setup that's required, but then you're off and running. The other piece of unstructured information are these sticky notes. So let's restore all the notes, and we've got a couple different kinds of notes available. So we've got private note. Only Bob can see this because Bob was the one that made the note. Frank will call when he gets home back from his honeymoon, and his bride's name is Karen. This is not the kind of thing that you might be able to find a place to put in most ERP systems, but we've made it real easy for you to do this with sticky notes. An example of a public note might be from the accounting department where they're notifying you that we're going to change the credit limit on the account next month. So these kinds of sticky notes allow you to adapt the system to capture the kinds of information that you want. And as a matter of fact, that information can even be applied into the enterprise search so that you can go find records that you put sticky notes on. Make it very easy for you to access that information, answer questions for your customers, provide good customer service. Now, if Bob wants to take an action from here, let's complete the circle on our business task management. He can come in from here and create a new task. So, for example, if he wanted to send a note over to Jack Ingersoll, he just starts typing in the first few characters here, and the system brings back a list of shortened list of things for him to select from, and he can select from his list there for the appropriate employee, and let's set up a meeting. Now, when Jack comes into the system the next time, he will get this task, and he can come right over to this particular account and go ahead and execute on that. Let's close this out. So this kind of closes the loop here on the overview for the different kinds of things where you can have transparency so that you can get access to the information, efficiency because we've built in these best business practices, and we've got these tools that will allow you to collaborate with your organization. And then from an adaptability perspective, we've seen several tools that will allow you to change the system up to meet your own requirements, like the configurable homepage. Now, also, while we're on this and we talk about adaptability, this is an example of going in and adding additional user-defined fields. We had a prospect the other day that wanted to call on hotels, and they wanted to capture how many rooms are in that particular customer's facility. This is not, again, something that we had designed from the beginning for them to be able to capture, so we were able to very quickly go in as a key user and adapt to the system to capture unique information for this particular business process, and then flow that information from the customer master record through to the quotes and the sales orders so that they could get reporting on how many sales orders they had by the size of the institution that they were calling on. So this is an example of the adaptability that's built into the system so that you can do this without programming. So let's close this out. And let's come back into the home page here. And I want to highlight one other function that we have here while we're in the overview piece here is the self-services section. All users have this self-service capability so that they can look up other employees in the organization, track requests. So Bob, as a manager, can track the leave requests from his particular employees. You can submit expenses. There's an approval process for that. You can do shopping, so you can have requisitions to go out and buy product. You can also access the Learning Center. Now, this is a critical part of being able to get the system up and running very, very quickly, is this built-in e-learning. Now, I've got an example of that. Let's just go ahead and open that up. This is a built-in role-based e-learning, so executive manager versus the sales representative, and then for this particular sales representative, what are some of the common tasks that this person might need to perform? And the system will actually give you a demonstration of this task. So let's show you how to use this in a standard business practice, and then walk you through step by step how you actually execute the procedure. And then after that, let's turn that on its ear and let's turn that into an exercise or a test. I've got an example of one of these demonstrations open. Let me show you that. So this is an example of navigating a work list, and you'll notice that the system shows you where to put your cursor, gives you a little bit of information, and then says, okay, this is where you would click, and then shows you what's going to happen when you do that. It continues on, and each step of the process shows you exactly what's going to happen when you do these particular tasks and shows you where to put your cursor. Now, when we talk about reversing this and coming up with a task that you need to perform, it will prompt you and say, okay, here's what you need to do. It will not show you where to go put your cursor and what to type in. And if you need some help, then you can ask for help and it'll show it to you. But it's a learning by doing. This is the latest state of the art in adult education and e-learning. This means that you don't have to send your people away to a class for a week to learn how to do this stuff. And as you bring more people on, they can go ahead and learn at their own pace. So now let's come back in, go through this business process that we wanted to go through. We wanted Bob to walk through a lead, an opportunity, a quote, and then generate a sales order. So let's start over on the leads. Here we see a work list of all leads in the system: description, account, qualifications, source. Many of these things, like qualifications, source, and category, are drop-down lists that you can configure when you go to implement the system. So we're going to give you some defaults, but you can adapt the system to have the terminology that makes the most sense to you. Let's go in and open one of these leads and take a look at it. So in a lead, we've got just the basic information: the account and address, website, primary contact within the account, just a brief description about the lead, status information, classification information. So just the basics that you might want to have, and then any activities that you might see related to that particular lead. So there was a phone call to validate the budget and timeline, and an email where we got information about the product details. And of course, anytime you want, you can click on one of these hyperlinks, and this would show you the details about that particular phone call or email or whatever. So this is an example of a phone call, when that phone call was made, any particular notes about it, etc. Let's close this out. And let's just say that Bob wants to accept this lead and move forward. He wants to create a follow-up opportunity from this lead. So the system copies the account and customer information from the lead over into the opportunity, and it gives us some more information now. It gives us, for example, the sales phase information here, so we can see that we're going to transition this from a lead through the qualification and develop value proposition steps into a quotation. And as we do that, it changes the chance of success to 60% for us automatically, and we can come in and plug in a particular value for an overall expected value. And then because this is an opportunity, we can also add additional information over here relative to the products that we might want to add to this particular quote as well. As you bring in products, the system will go out and identify this the price for you off of a price list that you have set up in advance and bring that in for you. Let's save this opportunity, and then let's go in and take a look at some of the details. So right now we're on the overview portion of the opportunity. Let's go into the View All. As we do that, we see the same basic overview stuff that we had seen before, but when we get into sales activities, for example, we see additional details. So we had identify opportunity, qualify opportunity, at the overview step, but now we can see additional details within this. So we were at the quote phase, and we see here that one of the activities that we see as a best practice is to organize reference visits, and we want to add this as a task for somebody to perform. So the system automatically moves this over and creates this task, and if you've got Microsoft Outlook, it integrates it into Outlook and it sends this task over to Bob Minson so that he knows that he's got to get this particular item taken care of. So this is a way for you to track and basically help people to identify the tasks that they need to be performing throughout the day. And this integration into Outlook, by the way, is a bidirectional integration. So we leverage the existing tools that you have, like Outlook, to send tasks over to it. And then you might have an email relative to this opportunity that you can send back over and attach to the ByDesign. And you can do that from within Microsoft Outlook. Let's take a look at this document flow now, and we see that as we execute this series of tasks, we started with a lead and we create an opportunity. The system builds this document flow for you. So this is a part of the audit trail that we've got throughout the entire system. Let's go ahead and from here create a sales quote. Now you'll notice that the system again copied the information in here for you for the account and the contact and the bill to and the organizational assignments all default in. This is a new record that's available for you to manipulate, and you can come in and change things up in here if you want to. So for example, we started off saying we wanted the P100 401. And so we're going to change our mind now, and let's remove this item, and let's bring in a different product, a P100 402 item, and let's check the availability. Do I have this available in inventory so that I can go sell it? And if it's a green light, then yes, we've got plenty of that product on hand in stock that we can go sell. And if it's a red light, then no, we don't, and you can drill into the details to find out when you might be able to deliver that product for the customer. So again, we pulled up the price history information for it, and we're ready to go. So let's submit this sales quote. Now you'll notice that it says sales quote 243 has been saved successfully. Let's refresh our document flow. And as we do that, we see we've moved now from a lead to an opportunity to a sales quote. So again, this transparency so that you've got access to this information at any point in time, and you can immediately go back to it by selecting the hyperlink. So we're looking at a particular sales quote, and we want to copy that and generate a sales order from it. Simply select from the drop-down list for sales order and create the sales order. Now, just as it did before, it copied all of that information from the previous quote, and it put it in, and we can now come in and make changes to this. So if we wanted to come in, for example, and put in the purchase order number that the customer had given us, we can do that. We can make any additional changes to the order that need to be made, and then we can go ahead and send the order, release it, and send the order confirmation over to the account. So that saved order 1483 for us. Let's close this quote. Let's refresh this document. So now we see that we've got lead, opportunity, quote, and sales order. So we wanted to walk through a day in the life for Bob as a sales manager. And so far what we've done is we've created this complete business flow here. Now we want to stop and go take a look at what would be involved in doing the manufacturing side of the house if this is a product that we need to go build, and let's take a look at the professional services side of the house. So if I'm if I've ordered a product that is not in inventory and we've got to go build it, we see across the top here different work centers that are involved, and we've been working so far on the sales work centers like new business and sales orders. We're going to change hats here, and normally you would log off and log back on, but to save time today, I've given Bob access to most of the ByDesign system, so that we can just go through and do this in one demo. But in your implementations, you would typically have different people get access to certain parts of the system, but not all parts of the system. So let's go in and take a look at the supply planner perspective. So from a manufacturing perspective, we want to go in and take a look at one of these products and see what's involved in building it. Now, built into ByDesign is a complete multiple level bill of material structure and material requirements planning. So you can run planning for an individual item, or you can run planning for all of your items. When you run planning, the system is going to balance the demands that you've got outstanding for particular products with the supplies that you have outstanding for those products. And if you're familiar with material requirements planning, you'll be looking for the ability to do that same concept of balancing the supplies and the demands, except do it in a bucketed view so that you see information going across the page in different buckets by weeks, days, and months. You'll also want to be able to take a look at the requirements in a time-phased view. So down here at the bottom, we see we're starting off with available stock 0, restricted stock. So this is stock that you've got on hand, but there's something wrong with it, so you don't want to make it available to sell. And then you see that the system is proposing production requests to meet demand for a particular sales order, or production requests to meet demand for forecasts. So we've got an integrated demand planning and forecasting tool that's built into ByDesign. And then we've got in here a complete manufacturing process. So if we were to take a look at this production request and open the material flow, and then take a look at the graphic option on it, we can see the top level demand for a particular sales order, and then we see the production request to build the product, and then we've got a lead time offset for that. We net out the particular subassembly components that we need. We see that we don't have enough of this P100-101 item, so we need to have a manufacturing order for that subassembly. And then we explode that further down and check the available stock, and we find that we've got this P100-505 item that we normally purchase, and the system is going to launch a purchase order for us for that. So this integrates the material planning and tells us when we need to launch purchase orders and when we need to launch manufacturing orders in order to meet the demand that those customers have placed on the system. Now, in addition to managing the materials, which is what we've just very briefly gone through here, we also, let's go ahead and cancel out of this, we also want to manage the capacity side of the house. Do we have enough capacity available for us to be able to execute on these plans that we've got? So within the planning side of the house, we take a look at our resource load. And this shows us a graphical view where we see the green line represents the capacities that we have available, and we see in the red bars, here's the demands that we're placing on our manufacturing capacity. And then if you open this up and go into details, we've got a load leveling capability. This one looks like we'd be able to manage it pretty good. But if we go into this mounting regulation, we see that we've got significant overload, and there's really no way to manage that. So when we open this one up, we would be able to call out the alternate sources of supply, such as a slower machine within the same manufacturing facility, or perhaps we buy this product when we're overloaded from a third-party manufacturer. So we support multiple types of manufacturing and purchasing for the same particular item. Now we've talked about being able to launch our purchase orders, and we can do that through the procurement system that's integrated into the ByDesign system. So here we've got the sourcing and contracting module here that shows you that you can go out and launch requests for quotes. You can bring quotes back in from your suppliers. You can establish contracts for those, and then that's all as we receive that information, going to bring those costs and put them into our integrated accounting and general ledger that we see over here. So we'll have journal entries for that, just like we had journal entries for the invoices on the outbound side. So now this was just a real quick walkthrough on the production side of the house. Let's now take a quick look at the project management side of the house. So if we were to build a manufacturing environment that was centered around projects, we can do that within ByDesign as well. And so we'll go in and take a look at this truck. But if it's not a manufacturing type item and it's really something that's a service that you're providing, a professional service like a software implementation or something of that nature, this is where you would go to track the projects for those particular resources and buy those particular materials for those kinds of professional services. So you use this same project management for both sides of the house. So now we're taking a look at the overview of this project. Let's go take a look at the detail now. And you can see that this is basically, this project plan looks an awful lot like the Microsoft projects kind of an approach, where you've got your diamond indicator here for your milestones. You've got various phases in here, and you can have multiple levels. So I've got the electrical phase, and then I've got tasks underneath that for the control panels, and then I've got tasks underneath that to represent either material or labor. And you'll notice that over here to the side we've identified our particular dependencies as we're working through our scheduling. So there's a built-in project management and scheduling. We can see over here, if we take a look at our team and staffing that's going to support this particular project, that we've got both our internal resources that we're working with as well as our external resources. Now for these internal resources, the project manager can actually jump out from here and take a look at the particular team members' availability. Do we have plenty of time available for this resource to be able to work on this particular project? And if not, what are they working on, so that we can go ahead and rearrange that? And you do that simply by clicking on this Show Availability button. Now, as we move forward, and let's just say that we're wanting to work with an external resource, then you would want to make sure that you track the requisition for this. And we see down here the full document flow where we had a requisition for this external resource, and then that flowed through and we created a purchase order, and we actually closed the loop with the reporting back of their time on that particular project, and that generates the invoice that's going to go out to that vendor, and that all these costs come back into the project. If we come over to Project Overview, you can see that we've got plenty of reports here for planned versus incurred costs and revenue, and planned versus actual work, and then other reports that are available here, the project plan details, the performance by project structure, team member work analysis, milestones, purchase requests. All the details are available in these various analytics from within this particular project structure. Let's go back and take a look at the sales tracking, and let's open up the document flow, and we can see that this particular project came from that same business flow that we just got through walking through, where we created a lead, moved it to an opportunity, a quote, and a sales order. So you can use this particular business flow for products and for services. You'll also notice that we've got more than one invoice request off of this, which means that you can take advantage of the adaptability of projects here to do fixed price projects, time and material projects, milestone billing on projects. There's revenue recognition capabilities that are built into projects so that you can take care of everything on your project from the sales side of the house over here all the way through to the invoicing and the general ledger side of the house as well. So we've kind of just walked through a real quick overview. Let's just kind of summarize what we've done. We walked through a day in the life of Bob Minson as our sales manager, where we did lead, opportunity, quote, and order. And we then branched off and said, what are some of the capabilities we need from a manufacturing perspective for supply chain? So how do we plan the materials and the capacity that we need? How do we support that from a purchasing perspective so that we can bring the materials in and then deliver that product out? From a professional services perspective and a project-oriented manufacturing, we talked about using the project, planning all of the actual detailed schedules and the multiple phases that we have in there, managing the resources, both internal and external, and then passing the details along over to the accounting side of the house for the invoices, and we saw multiple ways to do that. That concludes the overview demo part. Let's come back to the PowerPoint and summarize some of this stuff. We've seen several proof points today for transparency, efficiency, and adaptability. From a transparency perspective, we've seen embedded analytics to improve decision making and improve profit. From an efficiency perspective, we've seen how SAP has integrated best practices into the system, building on over 100,000 implementations. We've also seen the integrated business task management system to improve collaboration and control for the transaction flows. This supports both top-level goals of improved profit and building a foundation for growth. From an adaptability perspective, we've seen how each user can tailor the system to meet their specific needs for now and in the future. So with SAP Business by Design, again, your success is not by chance, it's by design. You can implement by design to become a better run business in 3 months or less. We will now move to the live question and answer portion of the seminar. If you have not already done so, please submit your questions now. To submit your question, simply type your question in the Q&A box on the left side of your screen and click Submit.